Hey everyone, so today you're going to be assigned 3 to 4 group members, 2 to 3 group members, and within your group, you're going to read this passage. All right, this passage is titled The Measure of a Hero, and your goal is to essentially find the main idea of the entire passage. Now, what you're going to be doing is each of the 4 group members are going to be assigned a different section of the passage, and you are going to find the main idea of that section, and then everyone's going to come together and compare the main idea of the entire section. And then we're going to compare and contrast to other groups, and then we're going to present to the class. So looking here, use this table. I'm going to show you the table in a second to organize details from the text. Here are a few helpful reminders for your tasks. To find the topic of a paragraph, use these 2 clues. The easiest thing is to look for a header. However, sometimes the headers aren't the best. Like I will help, not really the best header. So if it's not the best header, or if you're missing a header, the second thing is called an entry point. So look at the first 2 sentences of that paragraph. All right. So right here is a good idea, or even of that section. Okay. So right here. So just trying to find different things like that. And then this is where authors usually will drop the anchor to tell you what the next few sentences will all be about. And then you are left to determine the main idea of that section based on that. So once you kind of have that idea, you're looking for key details as you're going through to help point you to what the entire passage is going to be about. And so a gist statement, which to me is just another version of saying a main idea statement, but a main idea statement or a short summary is a very concise summary of the main idea or central message of a text. It's about getting to the heart of what something is trying to communicate, stripping away all the extra details and focusing only on the most essential information. Think of it as the in a nutshell explanation. Writing a good gist statement usually involves a process of identifying key information and then synthesizing it into a compact sentence or 2. Here's a common method often using a who, what, where, when, why, how approach, though not all elements may always be necessary or fit perfectly. So identify the topic or subject. What is the text primarily about? Who or what is the main focus? Determine the main idea or the main argument. So what is the author trying to tell you about that topic? What's the central point or argument being made? And what's happening, or what's the key message? Note key supporting details. What are the most crucial pieces of information that help understand the main idea? Why is it happening? How is it happening? And then synthesize that into a short sentence or 2. Combine the topic, main idea, and essential supporting details into a single, coherent, and concise sentence or 2. Aim for a word limit, 20 words or less. So if we were to look at that, I don't know, I have my version open. Okay. If we were to look at that in a grander scale of things, okay, we come over here, bringing us back to an older passage, and I just looked at these paragraphs right here, building the Statue of Liberty. So the original hope was to present the structure to the American people in time for the centennial of the Declaration of Independence in 1876, but that was not to be. The statue took about 9 years to build. First, Bartholdi designed a small-scale model from which he calculated larger actual size measurements. The enormous work then took shape in sections. Individual wooden molds were constructed. The statue's copper skin was hammered around those molds. The individual parts then were pieced together. A framework of iron and steel supported the whole structure. Alexander Gustave Eiffel, who later became famous as the engineer of the Eiffel Tower in 1889, built the interior skeleton. Bartholdi designed the statue holding a torch aloft in the right hand, symbolizing enlightenment and lighting the way to freedom. In the left hand is a tablet with the date July 4, 1776, chiseled in Roman numerals. The 7 spikes in the crown represent the 7 continents and seas of the world. Around liberty's feet lie the broken shackles of tyranny. So, again, we want to identify the topic or subject. What is this text primarily about? So the main focus is the Statue of Liberty, and more importantly, the main focus is how the Statue of Liberty was built. Okay, so then from that, we want to then determine the main argument. What is the author trying to tell you? Well, I just said that, right? He's trying to tell you about how it was built, why it was built, right? So far, my central point, my central argument is why was the Statue of Liberty made? Key supporting details. What are the most crucial pieces of information that help understand the main idea? Anything about it being constructed, right? Here's a good example right here. A couple of these things right here are good examples. Now, if you come down to like the liberties feet lie broken in shackles of tyranny, that is superfluous information. It's nice to know, but it's not a key detail in helping me understand how it was built. That's about something different. All right, that's just kind of trying to show you the difference between the two things. And so then now we want to synthesize into a short sentence. So I've done it already. I've already written it all out. I've already done it all over here. So the topic here, I said the construction process and timeline of the Statue of Liberty. One could even just say building the Statue of Liberty could work as the topic here, right? Sometimes this right here is a really good way of finding what the main idea is. Just looking at that. Okay. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes like I saw that one earlier and I just said that's annoying. But sometimes it's really helpful. Okay. Key details that help. Like I already kind of pointed them out, but it took about 9 years to build. Built in sections using wooden molds. Copper skin was hammered into shape. Supported by an idle steel framework. Interior skeleton designed by, like all that's about it being built. None of this stuff down here at the bottom is important details. So over here, that's the scenic route, right? Right. It was originally meant to be finished by 1876 for the Continental celebration. The date is written in Roman numerals. I could say it designed holding, my goodness, why does the torch aloft in the right hand, symbolizing enlightenment? It's great to know, but it's not a necessary thing. Now, finally, our gist statement, okay? I like to start off with whatever the subject is. So here our subject is the Statue of Liberty. So the Statue of Liberty took 9 years to build using a complex process of molded copper sections supported by a strong internal framework. Notice what I did here is I just took the important parts of my key details and I put them over here into my gist statement. All right, notice that my gist statement is not very long. It is one sentence. So then you come over here and why would the author include this information? And there's just a couple of different reasons why. For this one, it would be background information and then make it more interesting. To go back to you alls, all right, you will each have three to five paragraphs probably at the most. Some like paragraph 5 to 8. There's 4 sets of paragraphs here, okay, for your passage, which is again this passage right here. Now, with this passage, you can do it on this Google Doc. It's just you're going to have to move these lines around and the spacing can be a little bit annoying. So if that is how you feel about it, if it's annoying for you and moving the spacing around is not something that you feel like dealing with, like you saw how I had to move it around on the other one, then you should switch to just doing it on paper. Okay? But decide amongst yourselves who's going to do paragraphs 1 through 4, who's going to do paragraphs 5 through 8, who's going to do paragraphs 9 through 11, and who's going to do paragraphs 12 through 15. And then after you have finished, you're going to then take your 4 gist statements that you guys have all come up with and shared amongst each other, shared with one another, and you're going to check with another group. And you're going to see if that group is similar to yours. If it's not similar, then one of you is messed up. One of you has messed up. So you want to check with a third group. All right. And then if yours or the other groups aligns with that group, then that person who aligned is right. And then the person who's not, what do you need to fix? And then once you have done that, you're going to then review the 4 gist statements you created and compile them into one complete statement. It needs to be longer, obviously, but not crazy longer. I don't need, a paragraph, 3 paragraphs, something crazy like that. You can try to make it into, again, 1 to 2 sentences if at all possible would be ideal. And then we're going to present it to the class and we're going to choose which gist statement from the class we think is the best one. So that's kind of our main goal for today, is just working through this and writing a good gist statement. All right. I hope you guys watched, and yep, just let me know if you have any questions as we're working through this. All right. Bye, everybody.